All right, guys, you've made it this far. It's Friday. Time for the final title. And I'll tell you what, I saved this one for last because it is my favorite. Guys, welcome to the Youth Worker Daily. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome to the Youth Worker Daily. My name is Jay Hyam, and here at the Youth Worker Daily, it is our hope to encourage you with tools, tips, resources, and helps so that you thrive in your ministry. And all week long, we have been talking about the top 5 titles or resources that you would recommend to a youth worker, maybe a young youth worker coming up, maybe in their first, second year, or even just a youth worker who's been around for a while who's just looking to freshen up their learning processes or looking for some resources that maybe they haven't read before. What 5 titles would you share with them and say you have to read these books? This week we've been going through my top 5, and today we come to the 5th title. And I know I said earlier that, these are all really popular books with me. They're my favorites. They're my go-tos. And I was doing them in just random order, so there was no favoritism. But you know what, guys? There is a little bit of favoritism when it comes to this last title, because it is, for me, the book that really defined for me what youth ministry is and could be. And I am super grateful for this book. And the book I'm talking about is my number one go-to book. Even for as old as it is still rock solid. Guys, you know it. It's The Purpose-Driven Youth Ministry by Doug Fields. I love this book. Can't even begin to tell you how much I love this book. So much that when I lost my first copy, I almost cried because I had it all tabbed and marked and highlighted in notes, and then I lost it, and I had to get a new one, which actually Doug himself sent me, so I'm really special with this book because it's from Doug himself. But here, let's get into this book here and tell you why it's my favorite. So, little background history. I got into youth ministry when I was really young. Actually, as a teenager, still in high school. Our church did not have a youth group. I was on a mission trip, and I felt God leading me into youth ministry. I came back from the trips. I told my parents, we need to start a youth group, and I want to run it. And so we pulled together some other parents, and we put this together. And for my junior and senior year, I was the youth guy for our church and a couple other churches in our area who also didn't have youth groups. And it was a great time for me to start learning and figuring out what youth ministry was. And I was fortunate enough to just get some great resources, get some great encouragement. And God was really good at giving me an understanding of what I thought was important for youth ministry. Now, let's move forward a little bit. In 1999, I started my first full-time youth ministry role at an amazing church near the Pittsburgh area. It was just awesome. But I fell into this trap that a lot of youth groups were doing, and that was building their ministry and this whole idea of hype. You know what the hype is? When you try to build a youth ministry gathering so amazing that it just draws kids in, and then the next week you have to kind of outdo the first week to get more kids in. And then you have to go to the third week and you have to outdo the first 2 weeks because you want to keep drawing kids in. Well, we did that for a year. And we went through a couple books that had great ideas, but every week was a different hype event. And what I found at the end of that first year was that I was exhausted, and that youth ministry was way harder than I thought, because trying to come up with events that would outdo the next, that was really hard. The biggest hit that we realized was students weren't coming for any other reason other than the hype. There was no connection, there was no discipleship, there was no relationships really being established. It was just, hey, let's see what they're doing this week and let's go out and do that with them. And we did that. Now, in the back of my mind, I knew what I wanted to see happen in youth ministry, because when I applied for the job, they were like, give us your philosophy on youth ministry. And so I highlighted things like, hey, worship is important, and I think students need to learn about worship. I think missions and serving is important, so I think students need to learn what it looks like for them to serve. Evangelism, sharing our faith story is important, so we got to be teaching kids what evangelism looks like. But then there's discipleship, like how are the students going to continue to grow? So we've got to have a discipleship program. And then how do they know that this is a place that's really for them? And so I knew we had to create an atmosphere where they felt like they belonged. And so I had these ideas in my head, and I wrote them out for the search team who hired me. But I had a hard time communicating them to students. I had a hard time communicating them to parents, and I had a hard time making them become realities within our ministry. That's when I got turned on to the Purpose-Driven Ministry by Doug Fields. I actually went to a seminar at the National Youth Workers Convention, and Doug was leading a super seminar back then. That's when there was like the 2-hour class where these guys came in and they went for like 2.5 hours, something like that. So I sat through that super seminar, and he just started talking about why we needed to have purpose in our ministry. So fell in love with the idea and the concept. I'm like, you're talking about things I already know, but you're making them, you're talking about them in ways that I think I can then talk about them. That summer, read this book, cover to cover, and used it to restructure everything I did with youth ministry. And again, it wasn't changing my philosophies. It was just helping me to better understand and communicate what matters most when it comes to having an organized youth ministry. If you're starting out in youth ministry and you're in that same place, you just need help communicating what it looks like to have a solid ministry, this right here will help you do that. But it doesn't just help you with like the framework, it helps you with the very practical things like how to engage with students, how to take the purposes of worship and discipleship and evangelism and fellowship and missions. How do we take those things and develop a ministry that's effective around those things? And then it talks about things like how do we engage and relate with parents, and how do we recruit volunteers, and how do we put them into place, and how do we continue to keep them? How do we deal with conflict? How do we deal with struggle? How do we deal with issues that arise within our programmings? And then we have to handle them. All of that is in this book. Super, super helpful, super easy to read. You're going to get a great understanding of what the purpose-driven model looks like. You don't have to use it, but it helps you to, because it'll tell you how to communicate better. And I'll tell you, here's the big thing. So when we did this, we went from that first year of being all like hype stuff. We counted 4 kids as our core kids. They were the kids that were always there, no matter what we did, whether it was hype or whether it was Bible study. These 4 kids were always there. 2 of them were seniors, 2 of them were freshmen. Now that year, the seniors graduated, leaving me with just the 2 freshmen. That's when I read this. We came back into the next year. We had a program and a plan that we got from this, and we implemented it. And over the course of the next 4 years, we grew that program, I should say God grew that program from 4 students to over 60 students. From just my wife and I as leaders to over 20 leaders who were always there at everything we did, loved on our kids, and did amazing things. This brought us to a place where we were able to communicate with our students better. We were able to communicate with our leaders better. And we were able to communicate with parents better. And the best part, we were able to communicate with the church leadership better, which gained us a whole lot more respect and a lot of influence within the church. So this is a super incredibly helpful book. If you just want to help to learn how to communicate what it is that you're trying to do with your student ministry. Again, can't argue with the 4 to 60, and then from the 2 to 20 leaders. I mean, that's just amazing. And this is what we've applied over and over and over again, even in the context of some of the things I shared on yesterday's vlog about the Sustainable Youth Ministry book. These things don't conflict. They work together, and you can integrate these things and make them become part of your program. You'll just have a healthier, more solid program between the both of these. So here it is. This is my Youth Ministry Bible. Doug Fields, Purpose Driven Youth Ministry. To this day, some 30 years later, 20 plus years in full-time ministry, right here. So I started in 1999. This is 2019. We're about to go to 2020. That's why we're saying 20 plus. This has been the book that has been with me all along the way. Guys, you can get this book. I encourage you to get this book, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've been in youth ministry for a couple years and you're kind of just struggling with the whole hype thing. You can't really get a lock in with what you're doing. Purpose Driven Youth Ministry. Great resource. I would highly recommend to you. Guys, thanks so much for this week, plugging in with us and going through these 5 titles. They are clearly my favorite books. I still want to hear from you. What are your favorite books? So the top 5 that you would recommend to a youth worker who's asking, hey, I'm new at this, or I've only been at this a couple of years and it's not working and I need some help. What 5 titles would you recommend? Share those in the comments below. And don't forget the Controlled Chaos book giveaway. We want to make sure that if you're having issues or struggles within your middle school ministry, leave those comments below here as well. And we're going to pick one of those names and we're going to send you a copy, a free copy of Controlled Chaos by Kurt Johnston with editorials and add-ins. I think they call it like, what do they call it? Add-ins and commentary from Justin Herman. Great book, great read. You'll love that. Guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, hey, we'd love for you to subscribe if you'd like. And then if you do, ring that little bell up top in the corner, and that'll let you know each day when our vlogs go live. You can come over, you can watch us real quick, and then get on with your day. Become part of our community. Visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You'll find us at Youth Worker Daily. It's YTH Worker Daily. And then, of course, as always, give a quick big shout out to our ministry partners. That would be ControlledChaos.fun. It's the blog portion of Controlled Chaos, where middle school workers are writing and sharing inspiration and encouragement and resources for middle school youth workers. It's a great site. Go and visit us. You'll find lots of helpful articles and posts there from youth workers who are working with middle schoolers that you will learn from. You'll greatly appreciate it. And of course, while you're there, go ahead and watch or listen to the podcast, the Controlled Chaos podcast. That is with Justin and with Kirk. Super great guys, super helpful content. You're going to love it. It's going to benefit you so much. And that's going to do it for us today, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday at the Youth Worker Daily.